Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. The reason we were all there on Saturday, August 5th, this was my commentary play-by-play debut on ESPN and DAZN UK. This was big fight feels when both guys entered the venue and entered the ring. When Nate came down to the ring, the crowd was going nuts, man.
I know. I remember hearing that.
It was so loud.
Like, jeez.
And Nick Diaz, there was no word if he was going to be there, if he wasn't. Sure enough, he comes in and he's walking him to the ring. And dog, I got so excited. I was a fanboy on the broadcast.
Right.
My boys Ak and Barack were doing his own boxing. They shot down to us and they were like, "Rumor is Nick Diaz is in the building." And you saw my eyes light up, and I'm all, not an act. I genuinely act like that when you hear about legends in MMA. You know what I'm saying? So.
That's so sick, dude.
He came down. He was in Nate's corner.
Play-by-play debut.
And Nick Diaz is sitting diagonally away from me. And I'm looking at him, and the fight's about to start, and I got to snap into it. You know what I mean? But he's not even wearing cornerman gear. He's not wearing Real Fight Inc. or Diaz team, whatever. No, he's just wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Just
he's forget Swahili. Look at Nick Diaz, dude. In the corner we got here. Stockton 209.
That would have been the only thing. Slap me up. That would have been the only thing that would have distracted me from Sweetie at that moment. But, yes, the fight starts. Round 1.
Oh, my gosh.
Jake comes out heavy, son.
Bro, I had such a – as soon as not when they walked out.
Yeah, what are you feeling here?
So, I'm like, okay. I was like, right before the fight has started, I'm like, should I have made that bet? And then they and I had this feeling that we talked about the weight, the size difference, and how I'm always so used to seeing Nate be the bigger guy.
Yeah, for the weight class.
He's never
for sure.
usually a smaller guy because he's a 55er. He fought at 70, but his best is at 55.
Most of his career.
He's a big 55er, so he's usually got the reach and all that good stuff, right? So when they first went in the ring, I was like, "Oh, bro, what? Jake just looks way bigger. I've never seen Nate look so. I've never seen Nate look so small in a ring.
Comparatively,
and that immediately put a pit in my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, "Don't tell me." I'm like this, and all of a sudden, boom, boom! I was like, "Oh no!"
Big left hook to start the fight, man.
Tell me right away, bro. Not right away.
And Nate was feeling it. I was like, oh, you could see the legs were wobbly, and that wasn't
He was hurt. He was
hurt in that first round. And I was like, oh, my God, here we go, buddy. This is going to be a couple of rounds, and Jake's just going to wash him. Turns out, Nate Diaz is still Nate fucking Diaz.
Yeah, I was sad for a little bit in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, it hurt. I sitting there trying to be excited about it on commentary is tough because that's a legend there, and you don't ever.
You want to see Nate be Nate at least.
Exactly. You want to see him still do his thing. We saw a little bit of it, right? So round 1, Jake clearly wins.
Yep.
But this is something that started to happen, and it happened throughout the night. You started to have these back and forths, ups and downs in the fight, these swings, and while Jake, I would say, the majority time was in control as far as the rules of boxing, the fight itself, Nate was in it, and he was making Jake work back and forth, right? Where Jake would have a good round, and Nate would come right back, and Jake would have another good one, and Nate would come right back, and it was so fun to watch. Nate. Back and forth, classic Nate, yeah. So, round 2, I'm working off pure memory here. Nate had a better round. He had a better round. He came back.
Yeah.
The problem,
doing, little MMA punches,
Yeah. The problem, and by the way, I'm pretty sure at some point it was either round 1 or 2, Nate gets a single leg.
Yeah.
I called it on commentary. I was like, "Oh, watch out! Nate gets single leg and looks to the high crotch, and he just lets it go, and he starts playing around." And that became one of the big things too, though, that Nate was still doing the Nate Diaz stuff where he's entertaining the crowd and stuff, but it was at a point where it was like, this we've seen this for years, but you kind of got a shot here. What are you doing?
I know. It's like classic Nate. It's like, what do we expect? But
it's him and Nick. They do this, and it's like, exactly, what do you expect? But at the same time, it's like, bro, if you wouldn't stop some of these, you've got some momentum. Go, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there watching it, thinking to
capitalize.
myself, like, oh my God, like he's having some success here, you know? What did you think as we got through the fight about those mid-portion rounds? Because really we're going to talk about more what we saw from Jake, because Jake is kind of the focus of going forward. What did you think that from Jake in this performance? What did you get from it?
So Nate started, turning up round 5, 6, and 7. The midway through the fight, and I'm like, all right, now we're gonna see what Jake is made of. See that work he put in, and all the kudos to this man, Jake Paul. I was very impressed. I've seen like on internet, it's like kind of swayed about
We're gonna talk about why that is,
but I'm like, dude, he goes, it's the middle of the fight. He's not letting, even when Nate had success, right? Jake would interrupt that with a power shot, recenter, constantly relocating, never let Nate cut off the ring. Whenever Nate wanted to land his barrage and then clinch, Jake would shoulder bump, little uppies,
shoulder bump was nasty.
Circle, recenter, feint, relocate. Never let Nate settle. Then also the volume from Jake Paul. I'm like, dude, this man is outworking Nathan Diaz.
Crazy.
This is crazy. And then as the fight goes on, I'm like, Jake looks like the fresher fighter.
Dude, in round 10, when he was still, like, he came out off the stool in round 10.
Still bouncing.
I was like, where's this? Like, I don't know if 9, like, because 9 was Nate's round, but I was like, oh my God. I was thinking round 10, Nate's got a shot here. And Jake comes out like a bullet. And I was like, whoa, dude.
But even round 9, I remember round 9, Nate had a big moment. Like, he dominated the last minute of the round.
That's what would happen. Jake would start good, start the round fresh, and then Nate would just,
work
do what Nate would do.
I think it was round 9. He worked him for like the first like solid minute.
It was those body shots too.
Boom, boom, combinations. And Nate's just kind of like walking forward and stumbling and getting rocked. But yeah, obviously, what round was that left hook, man?
5. He hit him with a big left hook in round 5. Sent him flying.
Classic time for Jake, too.
Yeah, Jake, again, as the rounds go, he said this, and, you always think, okay, Jake's fresher, younger, more explosive, more, powerful speed. He's going to do something early. But his last 3 or 4 fights have shown his power remains throughout the fight, and he's knocking guys down late in fights,
Yeah, I mean, and I was like, okay, how strong he attacked in round 1. It was like, oh no,
that's what I worried
too
about.
Much.
Yeah,
right. And to see him, in those later rounds, to be able to be fresh, and not just like fresh, he wasn't just surviving.
Yeah,
still landing shots, still being effective.
Yeah.
Right. And not letting Nate be effective. And every time Nate would land his combination, lay on him, land a little combination, boom, he'd get tagged. And then Nate would do his little walk in his recenter, put his forearms on his waist. You know what I'm saying? He would do one of these. And I'm like, Jake is making him do that.
Yeah, he's trying to interrupt a little bit of what Jake's giving him. When you look at what Jake was able to accomplish here, I know people are going to look at Nate and say, we've heard it all week. The 37-year-old black belt jiu-jitsu, he's a grappler, he can't box, and never boxed before, all this. And I'm sitting on commentary going, we tried to tell people that this was going to be a tough fight, and they're like, you guys are riding, wobbling, all. And I'm like, I'm telling you, like, all internet goofy shit aside, this is a tough fight. That man he's made of something else. You can't put him away. And that's a harder test than anything. Is like, is your will going to be enough when you can't put him away to survive the counter onslaught? And Jake's was.
Right.
Like, I don't know what else you can say, but wow, like that's an amazing, like, shout out to Larry Wade, man. Dab. Shout out to Larry Wade for that, because 10 rounds, Jake had never done it. And fair play to Nate, he'd never done it. But Nate's just, cardio king. Going 10 rounds in your 8th fight is nuts. It's nuts.
It is. And to me, it wasn't like Jake was just trying not to box with Nate, and then he landed a big shot and like he knocked him out and got him out of there. Because you look back at the Tyron Woodley fight, like a lot of clinching, not a lot of domination from either guy, and then Jake lands the big one. Even with Anderson, it was a lot of clinching, Jake was doing well, but he had the big knockdown and did well late. But this one, like, he outworked Nate at his own game.
Yeah.
And you saw different things from Jake that you haven't seen before. He goes against a southpaw. He's done a southpaw before, but to do things against a southpaw, for him to shoulder bump and the uppercut with the hook,
the uppercuts and the shots to the body, I thought were the different things you saw from Jake.
Mm-hmm. And the ring control, the way he was moving on the ring,
he was nice on the just sliding, right? He was able to not get himself caught. Like the thing that we worried about with him and Anderson,
relocating, and Nate's doing this. He started just running forward with forearms, dude.
Oh, God,
it's now a meme. It's now a meme and a dance. It's a dance on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right now,
oh, word.
The Nate Diaz.
Nate Diaz.
He's getting roasted. They're doing this. They're doing this one. Because he just started chasing after him.
Yeah.
And Jake's on his toes sliding. I was like, "Whoa, Jake's not letting him settle," which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I was overall extremely impressed.
Let's talk about this, because there are the people that are going to, and I want to bring the arguments to you to see what you think about them. There are the people that are going to look at this performance and say this was one of Jake's not great performances. This was a linear performance from the Anderson Silva fight. They don't see him getting better, and there's some things I can critique, and I think that we're always going to be able to do that. Like, for example, I said I wish that Jake would have been on his jab more. And I know that's so easy to say when you're sitting ringside and the guy's not in your face constantly, but what I did see Jake do a lot was crowd his work a little bit, right? And it's hard because Nate is there. So you're trying to extend that jab, but he's catching you mid-jab, and then you want to throw the big power over, but because now you already shortened it up and now the range is closed, you're overthrowing the shot. Now Nate's clinching you, and then it's just a compounding effect, right?
It's easy just to go, boom.
Right.
Boom.
So it's like when Jake is throwing the one or the right hand and he's falling in behind it, where I'm sitting there in my head just going, man, he really needs to be better, on his jab and his balance, because if he just threw that right hand on balance down the pipe instead of maybe around the guard, then follow back up with the combinations, that's where Nate's in deep shit. That's where you have him.
Yeah.
But again, it's easier said than done. And again, I don't think Jake or anybody in the influencer boxing scene had seen pressure like that. Like, you'd seen pressure-ish kind of stuff from Tommy Fury. It was more volume. You'd seen...
Right.
Like, Jake had seen, like, pieces of it in his career, right? You'd seen volume from Tommy Fury. You'd seen pressure and pace from Anderson Silva, but you hadn't seen both. And whether...
And Nate is the awkward style of Nate. It's still Nate Diaz.
And I was going to say, whether it's technical or not, he's there.
Being weird. You know what I'm saying? It's
tough.
The mind games is crazy.
So people were saying like that. People are saying now that this performance, and I think we're going to do an entire video on this just because I think it deserves its own video. But people are saying this performance leads to the discussion of Jake maybe plateauing as a boxer. And I don't think I agree with that. I think there are some things, obviously, and this is why when the fight was over, by the way, Jake wins the fight. Jake wins the fight, unanimous decision victory. I think one of them had it 98-91, Jake, which I was like, whoa. That's a massive scorecard. But he gets on the mic and says, let's do it in MMA, $10 million, PFL. And I'm like, oh, buddy. I was like, you're a madman. You are a madman, especially
wild man. Dude.
After the guillotine, you saw the guillotine mid-fight. Cranking on it. Jake was like, he was choking me.
I know Nate was throwing the bird in the damn glove.
Yeah, sure. After when he was like, I won. He's like, immediately, he's like, I won.
I will say that. I did say that during the commentary. I mean, during the live stream. I'm like, this is another one of those. Nate just ran out of time.
Yes. Well, we talked about it in the pre-fight. We said
if this is
Nate has the
15, 20
best
rounds.
Yeah,
Nate wins.
But this is what we said though. Nate is the best loser in fight history, and I don't want to say loser like Nate's a loser, but when he loses fights, he never loses.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like he didn't really. When you look at the Leon Edwards fight, he didn't really lose. That fight's 10 seconds longer. Nate wins. He's the
he just ran out of time.
Conor 2. Does he really lose if there's a minute left? You know what I mean?
Again, it's weird, like, because you watching Nate, he's like, oh, he's just getting going. It's like round 9 and 10.
I know. So
it's crazy.
Nothing, like, the one thing you worried about with Nate is this going to affect his legacy. Nothing, I don't think, affects that at all. Like, I think, if anything, him showing he could come and do this for 10 rounds is like, okay, this guy really is about that. But Jake says, come, let's do PFL, MMA, $10 million. I think he's crazy for it, but it seems like it's something he wants to do. I mean, what do you think about that?
Dude.
Here's the thing. I don't want to see it. Not right now. After watching that, I want to say, okay, Jake, you're with your brand new team in boxing. This is your first camp together. let's continue to see where you can improve to with this, because taking that break and doing, MMA and then coming back, it's going to interrupt that flow and that rhythm with a brand new team. You know what I mean?
The one thing I will say, though, with Jake and Nate, which makes it interesting in MMA, is Nate's style, right?
Yep.
Typically, he does like what he did to Connor.
Yep.
He swarms them, and he invites the takedown, and he tries to, do the whole Stockton. He outboxes people, and then they shoot.
By the way, here's the knockout.
Oh, they don't want to shoot.
Knockdown, excuse me.
Oh,
crazy.
that was rough to see, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful shot by Jake, though.
Look at that. Boom.
Bang.
Right off the top of the head.
And there's Nate just falling forward. I was so worried about that. Watching just falling into shots, falling forward.
Just no setup. Just walked right in. Whatever.
So here's the thing. When you talk about Nate and Jake in MMA, obviously.
Man, hit the freaking Chris Brown on the yard slide, too. Said, hey.
Oh, man, the second fall. That was rough.
That was tough. But, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. With him in MMA, it's, Nate was able to find the clinch. Right, but Nate has never been like a wrestler. He clinches, but he wants to stand and punch.
Yep.
He doesn't look to wrestle. Guys look to wrestle him, and that's where his submissions come from.
Right.
Most of his submissions, have come from guys shooting, and then he ends up on his back and he's throwing a triangle, or you got a guillotine, right, or something, or happened with Connor. They got it. They have a scramble. He ends up on mount and then chokes him.
Yep.
So if Nate goes out there, he's just gonna go out there and shoot. He did go for a single.
Yeah.
Right. So you see that but there's still for me it's the size.
Mm-hmm.
Because you saw a clear strength difference.
Yeah.
Just one person be able to move the other.
That's a great point. Around the ring, Jake was able. When Jake wanted to clinch, when he was a little tired, he needed a break for a sec. He could get double overs on Nate and kind of push him around.
Right. So, is there a universe where Jake can use his boxing, which he clearly is more effective than Nate?
I don't know, man.
And what's the weight class? Right. What's the weight?
They'd have to catch weight 75 or 80.
Would they do this at 185?
85, but I would think Nate realizes this now and is like, yeah, let me come back
That's what I'm saying.
down.
But if you get like another 85,
dude, you're not going to entertain Jake winning this.
Dude, I'm just saying there is a
universe
right here. There is a universe because of Nate's style. If he just decides to wrestle, yes. But Jake is one of those. I don't know, dude.
No way, dog.
Nate gets hit.
No, Nate gets hit. Nate gets hit. I will agree with you there, but I think Nate has so many more traps. Has so many more.
Of course. And I could see, like, as soon as he gets the clinch, if he gets Jake, I could see Jake defending some takedowns, and like I can see it like a clinch.
I can see Jake trying to take Nate down. That's the thing, though. I can see Jake getting prideful and trying 100%. In a clinch where Nate starts working his grips, starts over under, even standing guillotine, and Jake freaks out, grabs the double, easy money.
No, I don't think he even lowers his head at all.
Well,
Jake,
I don't know.
There's no way. There's
don't
no
know.
way he shoots. Bro, there's no way he shoots. If he shoots, he's dead.
Done.
Nate does it with one hand, dude.
Yeah.
With his eyes closed.
I'm saying.
Like, bro, there's no way.
I can't entertain it. I don't want to see
Jake
it.
Just does this, if Jake just kind of does this,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Nate just starts like throwing those leg lifts, you know what I'm saying? And then, what if, Nate goes in for a clinch situation? I can see Jake breaking the clinch a couple times. He's strong enough to do that.
Yeah, I can see that. A couple times.
He breaks a couple
times.
But he breaks it all of a sudden on the break.
Yeah, watch out.
Right?
Careful.
Right?
Careful.
Dude, I don't know, dude.
I can't.
But here's the thing. I'll say this, okay, because I know I'm talking crazy right now. But he may do better than I think people will think.
And realistically, he has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose.
Correct. But to win the fight would be super tough because let's say you even hurt him and he goes down. What do you do then?
Come get it, son. Come get it.
Right.
Connor knocked him down 3 times and said, no, sir, I'm not going there with you.
And that's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, bro.
So the thing is, I'm like, I think that Jake can do better than most people think, and he can hurt him. It won't just be like right away. I think he can be competitive, and it'd be a thing where maybe he frustrates Nate, and Nate may be doing the whole try to get a takedown,
Laying on the fence, no.
Yeah. But if he clinches and gets him against the cage, that cage work is going to be a wrap, because now we can use the cage, take him down, mount this dude, and it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't submit it 100%.
I can't entertain Jake beating him right now. I can't.
No,
I can't
it's tough for me to say beat him, but I think Jake
have
would
more
do
success than people think type thing.
Correct, 100%. I think it's
fair.
It's definitely a fight that can be done.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, it's either that or he sticks with the boxing thing. He talked about potentially Tommy Fury. I mean, Twitter's been going crazy all day today with Conor McGregor calling Jake the Snake Roberts and some other things that have been deleted. So I don't even know if we can put those screenshots up. I don't even know if that's demonetization, but Conor was coming after Jake, and let's be honest, this is what Jake wanted. We talked about
Literally what he wanted.
When he beats
years ago.
Nate, this will be the culmination of these 4 years of Jake just calling out Conor and now saying, I beat the same guy you beat, knocked him out the same way you did, or knocked him down the same way you did. And Conor, he got the attention he wanted. Now Conor's actually directly talking about him to him, and they're going back and forth. So, granted, Conor's under contract, and he's not going to be not under contract for a long time with the UFC. But, like I said, Joey Diaz voice, there's the seed. There it is.
Dude,
potential.
We live in a world where Jake Paul beat up a guy more than Conor McGregor did.
Crazy. I don't know if he beat him up more than Conor beat him. Because the second fight, Conor put him down 3 times.
Yeah, but it was a split decision.
No, I get that, but this was
I'm saying dominating
a different fight too. Like if there was just boxing, Conor puts him down 5 times. 6. I mean, name the number.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, dude. Remember when he was running around the ring and Conor's, jogging, taking his jog and pointing at dude, I don't know, dude.
That was Nate this time around. This is Nate. Nate turned to Conor and he was the one running. No, it was a fun fight, man. What happens next?
That.
Yeah, I don't know about that. This is what happens next for Nate. I think is probably dependent upon if they can get the PFL thing done. I don't know, but it seemed like all week hearing him talk, it seemed like he wants to go back to the UFC. That's what it seemed like to me.
Wow.
Because he was like, yeah, now that I'm outside of it, I want to go back, and I'm not doing the Nate Diaz. I can't do it. Yeah. I want to go back to the UFC. I can't do it, dog. I'll turn to Mike Tyson. I mean, 2 points sound like one.
It's like, what happened there?
And Mike Tyson, I told you, I was watching Nate Diaz on the TV, and Jake Paul, he's a smart guy. He got him an MMA fight in there again, but he's not no real boxer because I'll get my guy Francis Ngannou to come fuck him up. Anyway, yeah, listen, I think Nate is interested in doing MMA again, but potentially boxing, I don't know. You saw Nick Diaz even get involved. He was saying, he wants to maybe get in on some of this action too in the post-fight. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, man, no.
So Nick's saying he might want to box now. Listen, if he trains, I'll entertain it. But if he comes in like he did against, who was it, Robbie?
Yes.
Don't give me that, Nick. Don't give me that. Where the belly has a circumference we have never seen before on him. Don't give me that, Nick. Because I can't handle that. But comment section. You let us know down below. What did you think of Jake Paul's performance? Here, I'll ask you on a scale of 1 to 10. What are you rating Jake's performance?
Oh, 8 out of 10.
I was saying 6 or 7.
Yeah, I got 8.
Okay. I like that. Comment section, you let us know what you think and what should Jake do next. Yes, there's the big question that everyone wants to ask, and we're going to answer, but that said, I want to do it in a separate video. What happens now in the fight we've been asking for the last 5 years? Jake Paul versus KSI. With that performance in mind, who wins? Separate video coming soon, and
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs.